Hello everybody, welcome back to the table. Today we're going to take a look at the Royal Navy Fleet from Black Sea. So this is a self-contained starter navy. Now you can buy like just the third rates and some frigates, and that would be very starter for a small battle. But you know, to kick it up so you have some variation, this box here actually contains a lot of the ships that you would get, say, in the Master and Commander starter set. And if you bought, like I said, the third rates, which is what I did. I started with Master and Commander. Master and Commander came with like 3 frigates, 6 brigs, and what you get here in your Navy set is 6 brigs and 3 frigates. Then I had to buy separately 3 of the third rates, which is included in here. So really, if you start kind of small with, say, just the Master and Commander starter set to kind of get used to the rules, just purchase a couple items and you have everything that comes in the Navy fleet except for 1 first rate. So this Navy set comes with, you know, what we were saying there, the 6 brigs, 3 frigates, 3 third rates, and 1 first rate. It also has 1 small gunboat section here that looks like it's got 3 on there. So that is something also that you might have to buy separately if you needed those. So basically, what I'm getting at is I don't have to buy the French fleet because I've already bought pretty much everything that's in a fleet box. All I need to buy is the French first rate. Now, one thing you do get though, if you buy, say, the Navy fleet versus Master and Commander, is you get named ships. So they actually come with plaques with some names on them. And that was something a friend of mine asked. He said, is this, you know, are all the ships just generic ships? Well, if you buy just the generic box of frigates, then yes, those can be whatever you want. But when you buy the fleet box, then you actually get the backs and they have the names on them. So you get named ships. So really depends on what it is you're looking for and how you want to build out your fleet. I started kind of cheaply, so my stuff is fairly generic. But this is now going to have some named vessels. So what that means is all the ships I have in my painting queue for my generic stuff, we're just going to say they're French. And I'll start painting those in more French colors. I kind of had a variation of some different colors that I was using for those. So they'll still work for anything, but now I can make them a French focused fleet and then have this be the Royal Navy focused fleet. Well, so with that aside, what comes in the box? Well, you're going to get quite a bit of stuff actually. All the templates that you need. There's also going to be a nice new spool of thread so you can do your rigging. And what else do we have here? I guess we just dump it out. I thought the box would be bigger, but actually I guess this is just the right size to store everything. So good luck fitting it back in the box. Alright, so this is what it looks like when it comes out. Just a big old mess of plastic. So we get the construction instructions for the frigate and the brig on the other side, and these weren't very difficult to build anyway, but they're good enough. The step-by-steps are good enough. They assemble real easy. The third rates were a little more complicated, but not terribly so. They just had a couple extra pieces like for fleshing out the deck, because you can kind of look down into it, into the hull a little bit, so that's kind of cool. Alright, so third rate has a couple more pieces to it. Then the resin kit, and that's kind of what I was worried about, was dealing with the resin and pewter. I haven't done a lot of resin kits, and so I have my regular crazy glue ready to go here, super glue, and a couple more because I figure I might need a couple more little things of glue. But I'm ready to glue the resin kit together. So the only thing that I was worried about the resin kit is the pewter masts. So anyhow, because the masts are pewter, and it probably has some other pieces that are pewter, but we'll look at that here individually in a moment. Probably need to wash them. Wash them in warm water with a dab of washing up liquid to remove any oil remains of the release agent that resin kits need to smoothly come out of the mold. Okay. I'm just looking here. Alright, so there we go. Then here's everything's put together in a nice pack that's been ripped open during transit, I'm assuming. Now, I use these ships for more than just Black Seas. I use them for all kinds of games, Age of Sail type games, because they're fantastic gaming miniatures. but here are the stats you need for Black Seas. So there's your gunboat stats, brig, 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 brig. Should be about 6 of those. And then here's third rate. Third rate should have about 3 of the third rates. And then a 5th rate frigate, which should have another 3 frigates. And then, ooh, even in a slightly different colored background, here's your 1st rate ship of the line. Nice. So you got your cards, and then of course your wake markers for showing your speed. It also has the rat lines. I don't know if I want to pull everything out, but there's your wake markers. There's the rat lines for the different ships that you're going to get to build. Then the cardboard, laminated sails, and then it's got several sheets here of flags. I'm just trying to pull a couple items out here. So a lot of flags. Let me see if it's got the, yeah, here's the, but this says brig, frigate, and brig. I was wondering if there was one just for the 1st rate. Let's see here. 3rd rate, 3rd rate. Maybe there's some more here. I was just wondering if these were going to be much, much bigger for the 1st rate, but there's the 3rd rate. I don't see the sails for the 1st rate, so those might be, well, I'm going to be a little disappointed. Uh-oh. Oh, wait, wait. Well, yeah, let's see. Light, light. I wonder if the same sails for the 3rd rate will work on the 1st rate, because I've got, oh no, here it is. I just have to better reading. But it is slightly bigger. Yeah, they are bigger. So there's the 1st rate. I was worried. But we've got the 1st rate sails, 3 for the 3rd rate, and then you got one sheet that has, actually 2 sheets for the frigates and then all the brigs. So all the ships are accounted for as far as sails go, and you got your rat lines. This is the 1st rate rat line sheet, so I'm going to keep all those together. Okay, I'm going to move this just for a second. So first of all, who packed this? Thank you, Ronnie, very much for packing this for me. I really appreciate that. And I won't go too heavily into the sprues because I've already done individually for the 3rd rates and the frigates and brigs. But here I could tell right away this is one of the 3rd rate ones, simply because it's got the main deck right here, and then you can kind of see through it, and it has a piece that goes underneath right here, so you're kind of like looking down into the hull of the ship. So I thought that was kind of cool. A little bit of flash on there. These are actually still very clean kits. They don't have a lot of mold flash on them. Mostly you really have to concern yourself is the connection points to the sprue, and there's actually very few mold lines and things like that. So if you're getting very detailed into the modeling and hobby aspect, this is actually a very nice kit. Even if you don't get heavily into it, there's very little cleaning that you have to do to help kind of spruce up the look of it. So here's one of the 3rd rate kits, and there would be 3 of those. Now the 3rd rate kit, because you got 3 of them, there was actually 4 masts and they had 3 backs. So even though these aren't specifically named like you, oh well, no, the British ones are. Let me see, they were supposed to have, maybe not for the 3rd rates. Yeah, I thought the 3rd rates would have some name plates, and that's what I'm going to look for. That might be over, that's a gunboat. This must be the 1st rate. I'm only looking because, see, it says here you've got the 3rd rate back plates and frigate back plates. They actually have names. Or did somebody just really, really write those in themselves very, very neatly? Because I don't see a name. Yeah, so I guess maybe whoever wrote in those names, yeah, I'm not seeing a specific, like a back plate that has the name on them. Well, shooey. Maybe they have them somewhere, I'm just not seeing it. So these are the basic 3rd rate sprues. Well, no worries. Yeah, I just assumed by looking at the back. I was excited. I was like, oh look, they're gonna have named because they're on the back plates, but I don't see the specifically named ships that they're talking about, or back plates with names on them. Like I said, I got a couple more things to unwrap, so maybe there's something there. I'm just not aware of it. The brigs, I wouldn't expect the brigs to have that. It's like you get to a certain size of ship and it doesn't matter what it's called. It's just a generic, oh, it's a brig. Frigates, on the other hand, you can name those. Now again, I do see where like you could write the name, but holy cow, you have got to have a really steady hand if you were going to write the name of the ship in there. So yeah, looks like you're still stuck to having to put your own names on there. Good luck with that. Anyway, those were some brigs, and like I said, you get 3 frigates, you get 6 brigs. The brig sprue comes with 2 brigs per sprue, and then the third rates and the frigates, it's 1 ship per sprue. And again, not overly complicated with the amount of parts. It kind of looks like it, but not really. See, this is one of the frigates, and it's got 2 masts, or 2 figureheads you could choose from. You know, then you put your masts on there. It's got ships that you can attach to it if you want. Then the body is mostly just these 2 holes in the deck, and you just attach the other parts to it. So a very simple build. Even if you are just getting into, you know, kind of like modeling for wargaming, these are actually not bad kits to start with. They might look like they're very fiddly, but they hold up pretty good. They're not super spindly, and they don't really break easily. You've got to put some pressure on them. So they hold up to the table use very well. So overall, I think these are great for gaming. And they look good too once you get them all put together. Now this right here I think is a gunboat because it feels small, and I got that. I can see the little round circular base of the gunboats. And there we go. Now these sails here, first of all, this is a resin base. It's held together pretty good. I probably would wash this too. It's got some, yeah, a little bit of resin that from just some leftover resin chunks floating around, a little resin flash, I suppose you could call it that. Yeah, so the gunboats are just that. They're really tiny. I can see they've got 2 cannons on them. So yeah, I got some little resin to peel off here, little resin flash. But it'd be easy to paint up. Put a nice dark blue, then go over it with a little light blue, kind of dry brush on some light blue, and then just very lightly white brush on some white caps onto the water there. And the boats are very tiny. Now, if you were to go to a different scale, I've seen my friend, he does, I think he does 1/1200 or like 1/1250 scale. And he gets them from several companies, but one of them is called GHQ, kind of does our World War II ships. Anyway, this is the kind of sails that come with those. They're a pewter sail, so you just, you know, kind of paint them up, make them, you know, like a white base, and then maybe like an off-white or a little bit of a brown to make them look aged. But yeah, they come all assembled in one kind of piece. The sails, everything. So all you have to do is just trim off the pewter here, the pewter sprue part, which isn't that much here, and then you would just kind of glue that right down onto the ship here on the base. And the pewter, you just gotta be careful because it is fragile. It can bend very easily. But this pewter here, these are kind of thick pieces. They'll still bend if you apply pressure to them, but they hold. I think they'll hold up to use. They're not overly bendy. I mean, because I've had some pewter figures and things I've bought previously, and they had like the World War II ships, and they have a lot of very fragile like barrels on the main cannons and things like that. But comparatively, this is pretty strong. Might still want to wash that off, see if there's any like powdery residue that they use to help it pull from the molds. But overall, pretty good. I mean, they got nice lines to them. Once you paint them, they'll probably even feel, well, they'll probably look a little more realistic than the cardboard sails that you put on the big ships. But that should be very easy construction. Just take out the sail, trim off all the excess pewter flash, and then glue it into the resin base, and you've got gunboats. All right, and this here is the one I've been most anxious for. So the kit comes with a first rate. I was going to buy a first rate individually, but my wife got this as a Christmas present. So, okay, here's some back plates, but like I said, I'll have to look to see. Yeah, okay, so the back plates, whew, you can either use the generic ones that come attached to the plastic sprue, or like I said, there might be a separate container here with some back plates. I see several, and some of them look smaller, so looks like your back plates are here for the frigates and your third rates. And that was all packed together by, I hope that's pronounced Rodica. So thank you very much for packing all of the back plates. And we'll just take a quick look here and see what we have. Because if I had to paint names on the back by hand, that'd be a real pain. Well, this has got a nice, okay, it's got a matched figurehead with the back plate. So I don't know how well you can see that, but this one here is the Ajax, and it's got, these have a lot of flash, so just be prepared to trim and make them look pretty. But you've got a matching figurehead and back plate, so that must be your historical accuracy kicking in, which I think is awesome. Here's the Mars, same thing. It got a back plate with the name, and it's got a matching figurehead. Which one? Let's see, this one, I can't read the name. That's the Colossus. That might be the first rate. Let's see if it gave a name for the first rate. Yep, the Colossus was the first rate. Well, no, that's third rate. I don't see a name for the first rate over here on the side. Oh, it just says, and a devastating 100 gun first rate ship and gunboat. So I don't get a named first rate, so you're going to have, here's the back plates for the frigates. Yeah, I definitely can't pronounce some of those. So you get three back plates and matching figurehead for the frigate, and then 3 back plates for the third rates with matching figurehead. So that's cool. I'm definitely going to be using those when I assemble this fleet together, just to give them that unique kind of, distinct feel about them. Alright, so let me just clean this up here. A bunch of flash fell off while I was looking at those. Okay, and then here's all of the pewter for the first rate. And this was packed by my buddy E. Thank you, E. I appreciate that. Oh, maybe there's a back plate in here. Maybe not. But it does have a lot of pewter. So it's got some boats. So I had to very carefully straighten some of that stuff out. That's the only thing that a problem I have with pewter. It's just because it bends fairly easily. You've got to be very careful. And there's going to be a lot of connection points to cut. So the pewter definitely has a lot more work to it. I mean, look how crooked that is. It's like, ugh, yikes, that's going to be rough. Rough to clean up. More boats, masts, bowsprit, some figureheads, I'm assuming, which are probably hard to see, but they look little tiny people there. And it looks like a couple parts broke off from there. Some more boats. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this definitely got a few more items to be concerned with over the plastic. Yeah, and like I said, that's the only thing I hate about pewter is it bends pretty easily. So I mean, yes, you can bend it back into shape, but with that you gotta be careful too, because if you overbend it, then boom, it's broke. So just if it's your first time working with pewter, I don't have a lot of experience with pewter. I prefer plastic. That's why I was hoping for plastic first rate. Oh, and I was almost worried, where is the resin hull? Woo! Now this turned out really nice. And that's a lot of guns. So, yeah, at least when I paint, I got a lot here on the sides, these to paint, and then a couple here exposed on the top of the deck. I don't see any shooting backwards, no chasers. I got a couple up front pointing forward. But yeah, this actually looks really good. You can see a lot of the line work in the decking. And I saw the piece here to cover the hole, so that's also a chunk of, it looks a little small, but it looks like that's going to cover the hole a little bit. We'll see how it fits down in there. And then of course, then eventually I'll match up what mast goes where, but those will have to be trimmed up and really straightened out. But as far as the main body, this is actually a really nice piece of resin. I don't usually buy resin on purpose, you know, I try to avoid it because I do prefer working in plastic, but this is actually really good. You can see a lot of detail in the back, which might not show up on camera very well, but it is very nice. And I think that'll paint up really good. Yep, if these weren't $40 a piece or $30, depends where you buy it, I would buy a whole bunch of first rates just to have big, massive battles. But we'll have to have third rates and a first rate. So I am going to have to buy a first rate separately though. That way I have two balanced fleets. Gunboats, I'm not too concerned if I only have one gunboat, you know, for exact balance between the fleets. So if I don't use the gunboats, I'm not going to be that hurt. Most of the fights that I know that my son will want to do will always have at least the first rate. Just because he, you know, well, I'm impressed too. The fact that you look at that and the whole side is just guns, like, it's beautiful. So we'll probably buy the French first rate. That way I've got, you know, British first rate, then we'll have a French first rate. Now if you buy the first rate individually, that might come named. That might have a back plate to it, but no back plate here. Well, anyway, there it is. That's all the parts that make up the Royal Navy fleet, what you get in it. And next video I'm going to do will be assembly of the first rate. But probably what I'll do before the assembly is clean up all of the pewter pieces and whatnot. That way all of it's ready to go for assembly. So that'll be probably tomorrow's video. So for today, thanks for tuning in and checking out the contents of the Royal Navy fleet from Black Seas, and we'll see you all later. Thank you. Bye-bye.